Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today is the weapons video, as I did promise 2 days ago. There are 20 new weapons in today's update, so obviously we have a ton to go over today. But before I jump into anything, relief has flooded over me because I got my copyright claims all released, so all music can return back to normal from now on out, unless I want to commission some brand new music people, so tag them down below if you guys would like me to work with them in the future on a collaboration. But other than that, let's jump straight into it today. Obviously, Underworld has 20 brand new items for us to use. Obviously, we are going to be listing the level, we're going to be listing what type of weapon it is, what weapon it is, we're going to show a photo, we're going to show the coins, and we're also going to be giving you some trivia answers, basically with some important information. Obviously, I have gone over this. There should not be any spelling errors in any of this because I worked on this for like 4 hours. If there is, I'm crazy and I cannot read or English at all. So we're going to start off with the first one for today, which is the Sapphire Greatstaff. The Sapphire Greatstaff is a spell weapon in Dungeon Quest, and it specializes in spell damage, dealing a base average of 10,000. The Sapphire Greatstaff can also be upgraded with gold to improve its damage and spell power, and it can be sold for a minimum of 250,000 gold, and requires players to at least be at level 79 to equip it. And this one is most commonly obtained after beating the boss on Insane in Underworld. The next one for today is the dual Sapphire Slices. It is a melee weapon dealing a base average of 11,000 damage, and it can also be upgraded with gold, and it can most commonly be obtained in the Insane dungeon and can be sold for a minimum of 250,000 golds, and requires players to be at least level 79 to equip it. And even at the max upgrade level on some rarities, it doesn't do more damage than the legendary Beastmaster War Scythe, so keeping the weapon could come in handy for this drop. The next one is the Black Steel Greatsword. It is a melee weapon. It is specializing in physical power, obviously, with a base average of 14,000 damage. It can be upgraded with gold, obviously, and this is basically obtained from Insane difficulty and can be sold for a minimum of 250,000 gold, and requires players to be at least level 80 to equip it. And the next one for today is the dual Flat Blade Slices. Flat blade slices. I cannot English. It is a melee weapon dealing a base average of 16,000 damage. It can be upgraded with gold. Obviously you can find this one in Insane difficulty as well, and it can be sold for a minimum of 250,000 gold, and requires players to be at least level 80 to equip it. I will say this now. All of the gold is the exact same. There is an issue with the gold currently. I'm not sure if they are going to be fixing it or if they're going to be buffing it or nerfing some or so. If you can do this, I would highly recommend, if you are just going after the gold, to go and grind over on King's Castle with your Underworld weapons, because you get the same amount of gold, if not more, from some of the items over there, and obviously that dungeon is a lot easier to run. So yeah, just a little fun fact in between. So the next one is the Luminous Greatstaff. It is a mage weapon dealing a base average of 14,000 spell power. This can be found on the Underworld Insane difficulty and can be sold for a minimum of 250,000 gold, and requires players to be at least level 80 to equip it. The next one is Hope's Triumph, and was actually currently possibly one of the easiest drops I have found to obtain in this one. It is a mage weapon, of course, dealing a base average of 15,000 damage. It can be upgraded with gold like every item, and can most be commonly obtained in the Underworld dungeon on Insane difficulty, which can be sold for a minimum of 250,000 gold, and requires players to be at least level 80 to equip it. The next one is the Dragon Claw Scythe. It is a mage weapon that specializes in spell power, dealing a base average damage of 17,000. It can be upgraded with gold and most commonly found on Insane difficulty, and can be sold for a minimum of 250,000 gold, and requires players to be at least level 81 to equip it. The next one is the Royal Crimson Greatsword. It is a melee weapon which specializes in physical power, dealing a base average of damage of 17,000. It can be upgraded with gold and most commonly obtained in the Insane difficulty. It can also be sold for a minimum of 250,000 gold, and requires players to be at least level 81 to equip it. This next one is the dual ancient daggers. We're getting back into some of the dual weapons here. It is a melee weapon with a base average of 18,000 damage, can be upgraded with gold, and can also be used for spell power. This one has like a base average of like a minimum and a maximum of the same amount in melee and mage, so you can technically upgrade it for both, but this can be mainly obtained from the nightmare difficulty. So we're getting into those nightmare weapons now, and it can be sold for a minimum of 250,000 gold and requires players to be at least level 84 to equip it. The next one is the Time Lost Spellbook. It is a mage weapon in Dungeon Quest, and it specializes in spell power, having a base average of 18,000 spell power. It can be upgraded with gold to improve its damage and spell power, and the item is most commonly obtained in Nightmare difficulty, and it can be sold for a minimum of 250,000 gold and requires players to be at least level 84 to equip it, and depending on the rarity, this can actually be better than the Spell Scythe over on King's Castle. This is also, fun facts, these are also the same spellbook that appears over your head when the mage spell Ice Nova is in use, and it is similar to another mage desert temple weapon called the Mage's Spellbook, and this weapon stands out to Timeless Mage Armor set. This is like one of the matching ones, which is amazing, and you can get it all and just wear it and look really, really cool. The next one is the Time Lost Greatsword, which is a melee weapon dealing a base average damage of 18,000. You can upgrade it with gold, but this can mainly be obtained on the Nightmare difficulty. It can be sold for a minimum of 250,000 gold and requires players to be at least level 85 to equip it. And the sword's colored Time Lost part resembles more of the Time Lost Guardian set, while the Time Lost Warhammer resembles the Time Lost Warrior set more. Little fun effect there for you. And the Time Lost Warhammer is the next one, being a melee weapon dealing a base average of 18,000. This is going to be upgraded with gold and mainly found on the Nightmare difficulty, and can also be sold for a minimum of 250,000 gold, but requires players to be level 85 to equip it. And this one matches with your Time Lost Warrior armor, which is really, really awesome, and it glows red, which is amazing as well. So the next staff is the Vampiric Greatstaff. It is a mage weapon with a base average of 19,000 spell power. This is mainly obtained in Nightmare difficulty, of course, and can be sold for a minimum of 250,000 gold, but requires players to be level 85 to equip it. The next one is the Ancient Elder Staff. It is probably a really, really cool looking staff. I didn't expect it actually when I first saw it. It is a mage weapon with a base average of 19,000 spell power damage, can be upgraded with gold, most commonly obtained in Nightmare difficulty, and can be sold for 250,000 gold and requires players to be at least level 85 to equip it. Fun fact, this has an amazing purple glow and I absolutely love it, but obviously you can get better ones, but this is a really, really good stand-in for like a replacement of the Beastmaster's scythes from the beginning of King's Castle. So the next one is the dual arcane spell daggers. Which is the mage daggers. It does a base average of 18,000 spell power and can be upgraded with gold. This one is mainly found on the Nightmare difficulty as well, selling for a minimum of 250,000 gold and requires players to be at least level 85 to equip it. And these are the first mage weapons that could be dual wielded without the use of cosmetics. Because if you didn't know, we got some awesome katana cosmetics in the shop right now, and they're only going for like what, 800 ROBUX possibly? I'm not quite sure. But the next one is the Nature Scythe. It is a melee weapon doing a base average of 19,000 damage, can be found in the Underworld Nightmare difficulty. Can also be sold for 250,000 gold and requires players to be at least level 85 to equip it. So we have our last 4 items, which is going to be the top mage and the top melee weapons for this dungeon, and then we also have our legendaries, which who can forget the legendaries? But yes, the Demon Lord's Greatstaff is the mage weapon, and it specializes in spell power, having a base average of 20,000, which is absolutely insane, and you can upgrade it with gold over time to improve its spell power. This is definitely obtained in the Nightmare difficulty and can be sold for a minimum of 250,000 gold, but you must be level 86 to equip this one. So of course, the next one is the Enchanted Demonic Great Axe, which is the melee weapon with a base average of 22,000 damage. So we get into some of the conflicting numbers right now. Obtained in Nightmare, of course, but a sold for 250,000 gold and requires players to be level 86. So we see that those last two have a bit of conflicting numbers compared to these new legendaries. So this legendary is the Dual Phoenix Daggers. This is where things start to get really juicy. The Dual Phoenix Daggers is a melee weapon in Dungeon Quest, of course. It specializes in physical power, dealing a base average of 24,000 damage. And it can be upgraded with gold, obviously, over time, with around 1,400 upgrades minimum, I think. And it can be found on Nightmare, of course. That is where you can only find legendaries. It can be sold for a minimum of 250,000 gold, but you must be level 87 to equip it. But we have some fun facts here. So this weapon is currently the strongest warrior weapon in Dungeon Quest, and this is one of 2 legendaries that can be earned while beating the Underworld boss. And this chance of getting this legendary is 0.125, which is 0.025% higher than obtaining the Phoenix Greatstaff. And it is the first dual-wielding warrior legendary, as all the other legendaries have a normal sword animation. They are all swords except for the Beastmaster War Scythe. And its base damage is actually stronger than the best potential and max Beastmaster War Scythe, so it's a very good legendary weapon to obtain. And the end of the blades resemble a phoenix wing, which is probably why they are called Phoenix Daggers. But it's also their first short legendary weapon, as the other warrior legendaries are all long swords. An exception is obviously the War Scythe, but it is still quite large. And that leaves us with the Phoenix Greatstaff. The Phoenix Greatstaff is the mage legendary, which specializes in spell power, having a base average of 25,000 spell power. Now, this is the conflicting number because obviously we're seeing more of a buff and a nerf coming to these types of things, and with the ones below this, so like the demonic ones, they are conflicting to these ones, which this is higher, whereas it was lower in the previous. You get what I mean. Obviously, can be upgraded with gold, obtained in Nightmare difficulty, and sold for a minimum of 250,000 gold, but you must be level 87 to equip this one. It is currently also the strongest mage weapon in Dungeon Quest, and this is one of 2 possible legendaries that can be earned when beating the Underworld boss, and it's rarer than the Dual Phoenix Daggers, having a 0.1% chance of a drop. So just those fun facts, but that is all of the weapons for today. If you guys liked today's video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you are brand new to the channel. Also hit the notification bell if you want to be notified every single time I post a video or a stream. And thank you so much to the people on the screen right now for being my current channel members. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. If you want to learn how to become one, just click the join button on my channel to find out more information. But yeah, I hope you guys have a lovely day or night wherever you guys may be in the world, and I will see you guys in the next video or stream. Bye guys!